music industry adjusts to the new digital world, the old business models are also being remade. That includes how artists and songwriters get paid. Joining us now to talk more about that, Richard Conlon, Vice President of New Media Licensing at BMI. Good to see you, Richard.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right, we talked about during that last with the last guest there with Chris about Ticketmaster and everybody being so upset about that, and really the changing face there. But people were upset about downloads too. When it was Napster, when that first came out, that created quite an uproar. It seems like that uproar has completely died down, hasn't it?
Well, I think that was really a transitional phase, and we're clearly in the very beginning moments of a major transitional phase, and it's not just music, it's the rest of entertainment. We saw downloads coming in, first free downloads on the file share services, and then a paid download market that really took off and did very well. What we're seeing, though, is a major trend and a major shift away from music as product to music as service. We're moving away from owning things like records or CDs or tapes. And now I just saw some research talking about teenagers and how 23% of teenagers are done buying downloaded music even. People don't want stuff anymore, they want access. So as music moves away from owning something or downloading something and moves into pervasive access, I don't want to own it necessarily, but I want to be able to get to it. I want to be able to hear it when I want it. So you're moving into a whole different ecosystem, and I think that's something that the download area was certainly one step along the way.
I'm just confused by that because it's almost like, okay, so I want to have access to Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Who wouldn't want to have access?
Hello.
But if I don't buy it, how do I get that access? Because even digitally, you have to buy it to be able to listen to it, even if it's once.
Well, I think that's going to be the big change, and I think one of the other things we've seen is that as the same teenagers who are saying, I'm done, I'm satisfied with my digital music collection, and again, that's about 23–25% of them.
Amazing to me.
We've seen at the same time that exact same group in the same period of time increase their internet radio listening by 50%. So it went from about a third. Internet radio used to not be a very young demo, and we saw about a third in 2008 of habitual teenage listeners to internet radio go up to 54%. So it's not about buying, it's about getting to it. There are great services, there are Pandora, there are wonderful radio services out there.
Well, the Apple Lala deal is
absolutely.
a example of that.
Absolutely. Spotify, which is in Europe and coming to the U.S. soon. The Rhapsody service.
Right.
I mean, that's something that I think is, and MusicNet and the Napster, the new Napster. Look at Napster. It went from illegal pirate download.
Right, crazy college kids.
It's legit legit and owned by the man now. And I think these kind of services where you can pay a fee and get access to hundreds of thousands or millions of tracks, their time is to come.
Is it half of all music in the U.S. is licensed by BMI? Is that necessary going forward? Do we still need to license our music? Or can I just put it out there and hope for the best?
Well, I think ultimately there are two sides to the question. I think that as we move forward, licensing use becomes even more important. We're lucky. We've been doing this for 70 years. So we've been licensing experience, not licensing product. Ultimately, where we live is at the beginning of the whole beginning of the creative cycle where the songwriter lives. So we're participating in this new ecosystem where we're creating revenue streams that go back to the creator. Mayor Daley from Nashville was speaking earlier about the creative center and the importance of songwriters in Nashville. It's really all about having a system and a structure that can handle enormous volumes of music moving around through all kinds of platforms, some of which we know, some of which we don't even know what they are yet.
But if you're saying that no one's buying music anymore, does it now come back to the concert? That's where I'm going to start to make my money now as a band. I need people to come see my show, pay a ticket price. Otherwise, how else am I making money?
Well, the rights that we represent are the rights of public performance, and those rights span internet transmissions, cable transmissions, radio and television transmissions, live venues. So if you think about moving away from product and into experience, anywhere you can listen to music on your cell phone through a wireless connection, over your computer, over any kind of broadband connection, over satellite radio. All of these new modes of getting to music have copyright attached to them. And so what we're seeing is really not sort of a blowing up of the whole world. We're seeing a shift away from ownership to use, and there are rights associated with use which then flow money back into the ecosystem for the songwriter, the music publisher, the artist, the label, what have you.
I've got about a minute left with you, Richard. What about video games like Guitar Hero, because you talk about copyrights. This is a brand new genre. Now kids don't just want to listen, they want to participate. They want to act like they're playing the song. How touchy is this with the music industry right now with Aerosmith and the Beatles and things like that?
Well, look, I think it's an awesome new venue. I think that it's in a state of flux. Initially, there are two components to that. The initial phase of the gaming business was boxes, and it was an experience that you put a disc in a machine and you played a game. And associated with that, labels and other copyright owners were saying, if you can give me all of these young teenage boys right on, I'll do it for free. That has now evolved away from sort of a niche promotional sort of avenue into an entertainment avenue, then became networked. Look at Xbox, look at Sony, look at the Wii, look at all of the networking that's going on between these devices. So there are two things happening. One is it's becoming more dependent on music, but the second thing is if you were participating in that sort of box product game, and you were doing deals that were buyout deals for not a lot of money, right now you're saying, oh, gee, got to reset my levels here because now this is a major new entertainment form and maybe there are new deal structures that are more appropriate.
You know what, Richard, I think it's a great thing, though, because my kids are learning old school rock and roll because of Guitar Hero, and I love it. Richard Conlon, Vice President of New Media Licensing at BMI, thank you for being with us.